I'm Spencer MacColl, the Director of Impact Measurement and Analytics, and it's my pleasure to walk through our new relative impact ROI model today. For the next 10 minutes, I'm going to be talking through this proposed alternative way to measure the cost effectiveness of our foundation's grants. Now, the reason why we're doing this is to see whether a relative model can be used alongside our existing North Star model, or whether it will replace it over time. And what we mean by relative income model is that we're defining income gains as a percentage increase rather than an absolute dollar income increase. This isn't a change to our mission. Our mission is to improve people's lifetime earnings through access to opportunities. We're just exploring how we define what lifetime earnings is. So this changes our focus to be on finding grants that create transformative lifetime income changes per dollar. We're going to be approving some of these grants using this new model and gathering data and feedback from others over the next 12 months. So what we mean by relative income change is the change in income compared to what an individual would have earned without a grantee's program. So we're really comparing their income change over the counterfactual of what they would have made, but instead of quantifying it in dollars, we're quantifying it in percentages. In this simple example, a training program in Kenya would increase someone's incomes from $1,000 per year to $1,300 per year. The absolute change there is $300, but the relative change is 30%. To further illustrate the differences between the absolute income change and the relative income change model, here are two examples. Imagine both these projects cost the same amount, but these are the benefits that they create. So the US project will increase someone's income by $1,500 per person, which translates to a relative income change of 5% per year. Now, the Kenyan project will also increase someone's income $1,500, but given that they're earning about $1,000 per year, this is actually a 150% income increase. So while the absolute model equates these two programs as being the same in terms of the absolute ROI, the relative ROI model will show that the Kenyan program is about 30 times more effective because it can increase relative incomes 30 times more per dollar that the foundation is spending. So we really want to test whether we can maximize transformative income changes over kind of minimal income changes, depending on the dollars that we're spending with the foundation. So this also enables us to work across a variety of countries where the income levels are vastly different. If we're just working in the US, where the cost of living is roughly the same throughout the country, we can use the absolute ROI model more effectively. But as we work in Colombia and Kenya, where average incomes might be $2,000, it really makes sense to move to more of a relative income change model, where we can say, we value improving someone's income 1% in Kenya is equal to improving someone's income 1% in the US, even though in the US that might be a $400 income increase compared to just a $20 income increase in Kenya. So this allows us to work in a variety of countries and a variety of contexts, all kind of having an apples to apples comparison. So the big question is, how do we translate a relative income model into a quantitative cost effectiveness ratio? Well, it first starts by translating the total benefits of the project into what we're calling relative income points. So 1% change in someone's income for one person for 1 year is 1 point. So that's 1 point for 1% income increase. 30 points, therefore, is one person increasing their income 1% for 30 years. Just 1 point times 30 years is 30 points. Now, if we want to double someone's income, say the project increases their income by 100% for 1 year, that is 100 points for 1 year for one person. Now, if we want to double someone's income for their whole working life, which we have set as a default 30 years, that's going to be the 100 points times the 30 years, 3,000 points to double someone's income for life. Now, I'm going to walk through some other examples here using this example on the right in this box. Let's say a project increases someone's annual earnings 50%. That's 50 points per person per year. How many years will this income boost occur for? We're going to say it's happening for the entire 30 years of their working life. So that's 1,500 points, 30 years times 50. Now, how many people does this project impact? 1,000 people. So in total, the relative income benefit of this grant would be 1.5 million total relative income points. Now, how do we translate that into a threshold? There's kind of three ways we can kind of look at the threshold. And the first one is kind of our standard North Star model, which is what is the total benefit that we are seeing per dollar that the foundation is spending. In this case, we divide the 1.5 million points divided by the $500,000 grant cost. And we see that we're increasing 3 relative income points per dollar. This is basically saying that we're going to increase someone's earnings by 3% for 1 year. That could work, but we think flipping the ratio could be a better way to communicate our threshold externally and internally. So if we flip that, we divide the total cost over the 1.5 million percentage point that we have, we see that we're actually, it just costs us 0.33, so 33 cents to increase someone's income by 1%. Or for their lifetime earnings, it costs us $10 to increase annual income by 1% for 30 years. A new ratio that we're talking about here is step 3 here, part C, is called the DIL, D-I-L, which is what is the cost to double someone's income for life, which is essentially, can we increase someone's income by 100%? And what is the cost for our foundation to do that? So as we look through a variety of grantees, what is their cost to double their participants' lifetime earnings by 100%? So here we just take the cost to increase someone's income by 1% for 30 years, multiply it by 100, and we get that this project will increase someone's lifetime earnings by 100% for $1,000. To walk through what this looks like in a model, I just want to illustrate why this is a particularly easy way of looking at impact. Well, one is that if we look at just a 50% change for 1,000 people in 1 year, that's 1,000 times 50 points, 50,000 points. And we just sum that by the total number of years that the project's going on. So like like I showed in the slide, we have 1.5 million points divided by the $500,000 cost gets us $1,000 to double someone's income for life. But what's so nice about this model is that there are some projects that either reach more people as the program goes on. So it might start with 1,000 people, and it might scale to 2,000, 4,000, let's say up to 5,000 people by year 4. Now we've driven down that cost to $211 per person to double their income. So if we go back to the 1,000 per person, we see that again, it's $1,000 per person to increase their lifetime earnings. But what happens if the change in income happens gradually over time? So maybe in year 1, it's only 10% of an income change. Like perhaps it's an internship or fellowship training program. And eventually it starts to ramp up to that 50% change in income by year 6. You just sum up those different annual income change points to now realize that the cost per doubling someone's income for life is now increased from $1,000 to $1,100. So it's a very simple, flexible model that really just requires what is the percentage income increase for that year and for how many people. So going back to the presentation, we look at our current grantees. This is about 16 grantees here. We see that a large number of them are increasing their incomes on the absolute ROI model by over $100 per dollar spent, and also increasing the relative income models for under $1,000 per person. There are some that are just above the absolute model, but would not make our threshold of $1,000 or less to double someone's income for life. So we're going to really be exploring is where do we want to put these thresholds going forward? And are we going to combine the ROI in an absolute way and in a relative way, or just look at the relative model over time? I'm not going to go through this example in detail, but feel free to click on the links in the presentation itself. But what we're showing here is that a model that would generate 115 ROI in the absolute ROI model would not make that 100 threshold for the Kenyan program. But if we flipped it to the relative model, we find that the training program in Kenya could be 24 times more cost effective than the US program. So it really matters which model we use to estimate the improvements here on a cost-effective model threshold. So lastly, I'll say that we're really looking forward to testing and learning over the next year. We are continuing to do literature reviews to find benchmarks in the relative ROI framework. We really want to ask ourselves some key questions around, how easy or difficult is it to communicate this new type of income change? What are the relative ROI results for well-known development interventions? Do we think that we can actually positively impact more people through the relative ROI threshold rather than the absolute ROI threshold? And what processes and capabilities might we have to change as a foundation if we really want to move in this direction? Thanks for your time and listening to this presentation, and I hope that was clear. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions going forward. And